Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and this video is going to be the finale for Dawnshade, the Watcher's Prophecy, capping off the Kickstarter preview series here on the channel. We're going to pick up exactly where we left it off in the last video. If you haven't checked out the setup video or the components video, or even the part 1, part 2, you're going to want to check all of those out to understand how we got to where we currently are. I'll put a link to that in the top right hand corner for you to go and check out. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start right into gameplay. So trying to decide where I should go next at the start of this next turn is quite an interesting decision, being that you can see the quest tile deck over here has 3 left, and the last one is the actual major threat, which will force us straight into the end game of the chapter. Now what gets interesting here is my desire to go back to the village to train up and use that training point I've got up here. I do have 4 XP waiting, and I'm hoping to get that up to 10 soon, so eventually I can get 2 training points. But my worry is that time is going to run out on me before I can get back to the village, and this is why. My current threat level is at 12, and if I wanted to go to the village right now, I'd have to go all the way around. So I'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'd be burning all kinds of threat, pushing me right into the final encounter before I even get to use that training point. So that's not going to work. There is a Watcher's Blessing right here, which I could certainly go after. Seems like the obvious choice. The downside with this is if I go there, I'm taking a tile and placing it here if I so choose to go there. And then after resolving that and continue on with the next turn, I might put the next one here. But you can see I'm not going to be able to actually wrap back around to this other side, our entrance towards the village. So you can see how placing your village as well as placing all the other tiles that you did along the way in your playthrough really does have an impact on what you can get to and what you can accomplish on a given turn, especially getting towards the end of a chapter. So with all that said, and the fact I don't really want to push for this major threat to occur just yet, I'm going to go for that Watcher's Blessing right here. But first, let's flip over the quest tile and see what we got. All right, looks like we got ourselves a journey tile. Nice. This is going to be one that we haven't actually had before. We'll talk about this real quick, but I'm going to go ahead and just drop this in here. And one thing you're also noticing is, look at this. It wouldn't even allow me to, no matter how I place this, to put this in a way that's going to help me to wrap back around the village. It's actually taking me a long way around. But again, remember, I don't have to go here. I flip the quest tile over. I could choose to put it over here or anywhere else on the board. There's a linking path, but most of the spaces don't result in anything too positive. So I think I'm going to be happy to sit here. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to move the kinship over. And we're going to flip over this Watcher's Blessing. Ah, look at this. We got ourselves a new one here. This is a damage +1. That's going to be huge. I like that. We'll talk more about it in a second. So that will definitely go up with Ash. He's happy to have that. So he's got a wild, a shield, and a damage now. So that's pretty awesome. But first, let's go ahead and tick up our threat for that 1 movement. So we're up to 13. All right, so let's go ahead and pull the next tile off the top. What do we got? Another journey tile to place. All right, where are we going to go from here? So how this works with the next quest tile being revealed, we have to finish the actual journey that we're doing from this original tile right here. As it mentioned, to pull one from the quest deck as we did, we're going to increase our threat and move to it, and we must go ahead and do this. The kinship does receive 4 XP each time they move through a journey tile, so that's pretty awesome because it would bump me from 4 up to 8. It's very close to what I want to get in another training point, but I don't think we're going to be able to make it back to the village. And sadly, the outposts that we have, the Foundry and the Mercantile, they're not going to help us in terms of a guild hall, at least for those outposts. So we aren't going to be able to get those training points, unfortunately, even if we do happen to get 2. And we're currently really far away from any Watcher's Blessing, so it looks like it's kind of leading us towards... This is a very interesting one. So I don't really have to... I can't go back to the Watcher's Temple, so I think in this case what I'm going to do is maybe kind of tag it on like this. We're kind of going on the long ways around here, but this is going to only have me increase my threat by 1. There wasn't anywhere else I really wanted to be on this map currently. So now that that's connected, we do get to increase our XP by 4. So we're going to go way up here, take this all the way up to 8. And of course, because we just pulled another journey tile, guess what happens? The exact same thing. We're pushed into another journey. So this one right here is what is triggered next because there is no other option, the major threat. So it's leading us right to the final confrontation. So we're going to go like this and move into the major threat. For moving, our threat goes up, but it doesn't matter because we're actually going into the major threat anyway, even though we're at 15. 16 would have triggered it automatically too. Now that we've moved there, We also gain 4 XP. So technically, this would actually tick up to 0 and then tick up to 2 because we went from 8 all the way around through 10 XP and then leave 2 XP afterwards. And now we take another cube and leave it right here. And unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to gain those before we go into the major threat. We also need to ensure that because of the level up from the XP that we just did, our level actually ticks up to 5 now, which will probably make this major threat a little more fun. And by a little bit more fun, I mean a little bit more dangerous. We're now moving into level 5, major threat called the Ravage. There's smoke coming from a village ahead. As you approach, you see something that stops you in your tracks. Villagers are running every which way in fright from an enormous cog beast known as Ravage, a mechanical monstrosity standing twice your size on all fours. Its giant head, sharp metal teeth, and whipping tail the size of a tree sends a cold shiver down your tail. Around its neck is the sign displaying the might insignia that reads, "Strength above all." It is busy corralling villagers as if it were playing a game of fetch. Creatures are being scooped up in its gaping maw and spit out into a wheeled cage driven by some razorback magus. The Ravage's large cogwork eyes, filled with red mountain vaki, scan the crowd looking for its next target. They land on you. We now have 3 paths to choose between, and we can only choose one. So we can choose to run right now, we can choose to stand our ground, or we can attack. Last time we were involved in a battle, we chose to stand our ground. This time we're going to be aggressive and attack. Flash reaches for one of the bombs fastened to her leg strap and begins running toward the cog beast, yelling. The rest of the kinship runs after her, also yelling, but mostly to try to get her to stop. The Ravage looks up and tilts its head, confused by the small creatures running toward it, yelling. It opens its mouth wide, ready to snatch you, when a Magnus driving the cart full of villagers pulls between you and the charging cog beast. "There's no need for fighting," says Magnus authoritatively. "We've simply assembled these creatures and taken them to the Might burial grounds for training. Join us and find out what happens to opposers. Roll the Dawnshade dice." All right, it's time to determine whether we can continue to succeed at this roll. I've done so far, but remember, I do have a wild that I could use if I really want to force this. Ah, I finally failed. I knew it would happen when I most needed it. Ugh. So the question really becomes, do I want to actually use this die right now? I think I might. So I might do this because this wild here can be used anytime to change any face of any die. So I'm going to use this Watcher's Blessing right now. I'm going to change this so that we actually get a success. The succeed condition for this option states, "Did you just call me a poser?" Flash says, "Meh, I've been called worse. Here, catch." She throws her bomb high into the air toward the Ravage's gaping mouth. Unable to resist, the Ravage wags its tail, rears its giant cogwork hind legs, and jumps into the air, catching the bomb in its mouth like a ball. It immediately explodes in a large cloud of fire and smoke, engulfing most of its body. The Ravage lands, spits out a few cogs, and lunges toward you, clearly not happy with this game. Prepare for battle. Roll 1 attack die and apply damage to Ravage at the start of battle. So now let's go ahead and set up for battle. First, we'll deal with Ash. So Ash is going into this one with 5 HP and 1 defense chip for his Thorn Greaves. I think we need to talk a little bit about what this cog beast is all about. This is the Ravage head of the cog beast, and one thing to note is if you're playing or controlling more than just a single character against this cog beast, there's different parts of it. It'll have a tail and all kinds of things like that, and of course that increases the more characters you're controlling. For a one-on-one battle, you're just going up against the head of this thing. So we're going to flip it over to see what this thing has for us. So right off the bat, you can see here it has 0 shield, so that's good. Although remember, it can always gain up to 3. And HP wise, it's got 7, so that is a lot. But thankfully, because we actually rolled and we didn't succeed at the Dawnshade die roll, but we were able to use one of our bonuses in order to make it succeed, we do get to roll an attack die and make a hit against it to start us off. So here's 7 HP, and I'm going to go ahead and do that attack roll right away here so we can determine whether or not that does anything to him off the top. Let's see. It's a complete miss. And the worst part of this is I don't have the ability to use anything that I currently have to bolster this anymore because I already used, you know, that particular bonus, which was this one here, the wild, in order to set a die basically to any side I want. So that just did not work out for me at all. So let's quickly take a look at the special ability and the ultimate for this wonderful creature. We have Chomp as the special ability, and the ultimate is Ragdoll. Well, I'm sure we'll become very familiar with both of those, but let's talk about them in depth so you guys understand what could potentially happen. So how the special ability Chomp works is Ravage snaps its giant maw, crushing everything unfortunate enough to be in its way. Has the chance to do +1 damage. The target gets a save roll, and we get to roll the Dawnshade dice when this happens. If we actually succeed, it's just normal damage that we take. If it's a direct hit because we failed, then we take +1 additional damage, so that's kind of painful. Now the ultimate ability, which we know will trigger in the second last round of battle, hopefully it will not because I'll be able to take this thing out beforehand. If it does, Ravage grabs the target in its maw and begins shaking it like a ragdoll, and it means that this creature gets to attack me twice. So now we're going to go ahead and set up the Dawnshade bag. As you can see here, we're definitely going to put all the ally chips in as we always do when playing solo mode. Because we're only going up against one foe, we're going to go ahead and just take the top 5. That's all that's going to go in the bag. So basically it'll be an even 5-5 split. These two do not go in. So we'll take those away. And we will put those in the Dawnshade bag. We're going to give them a good shuffle, and we're going to go ahead and grab 2 of them out to put in the initiative spot to determine who's going to go first, which could be pretty interesting. And last time we did a battle, I didn't get 2 of the foes going in a row, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. Or ever. Never happened the first time. I hope it doesn't happen this time. So I'm already halfway there. Oh, I got the exact same layout. I've had this layout quite a few times so far, and I am liking being able to go first. So preparing for this battle involves making sure I've got my Watcher's Blessings ready to go. One here will give me some increased damage. Another one will give me an increased shield. And honestly, I can use these on my turn when I like. I'm going to use them right now because we're going to be starting off the battle with Ash, and I want to go ahead right away use a Watcher's Blessing to gain a shield. So we'll spend this, we'll take 1 shield token and place it at the very bottom of the stack. Now I've got 2 down there. That's certainly going to help me out. Something else to note up top is I do have 1 single Vaki in the sun element and 1 in the mountain, so I am 1 away Vaki-wise from being able to use this ability right here, Dawn Strike. So that's something I might be working towards. If I choose to roll a Vaki die and happen to land a pip on it, I can go after the last remaining sun Vaki that I need in order to trigger that ability, which could be very useful in this battle. We shall see. All right, in terms of the dice I'm going to roll, I've got 4 agility, and I want to keep in mind that I have this +1, which is going to help me on the damage side of things. I'm going to go ahead and actually roll 3 attack dice, which I think might be a decent number, and 1 defensive die in order to try to get that 3rd defensive chip on the bottom of Ash before this cog beast comes at me. So I think this will make a lot of sense here. We'll roll these off and see how it goes. All right, so we got ourselves, it looks like a success on the shield. We got 1 hit, 2 hit, and a miss. I rolled 1 miss on an attack die, and those are the only type of dice that are going to give you the ability to jump up your overdrive. And again, it's all based on the fact of getting 0 pips, because I'm trying to make an attack and I missed. So overdrive goes up by 1, so I'm getting closer to 6. When I hit 6, I'll get my overdrive ability, which is +3 damage distributed among any number of adjacent foes. Well, 3 damage against the cog beast would be huge. So let's go ahead and deal with the attack dice first. We have 2 successes. We already dealt with the overdrive because of the miss here. 2 plus the 1 here from my Watcher's Blessing is going to make a total of 3. So overall, that was a pretty solid hit against this cog beast. I'm going to remove these dice now. We've dealt with all these. The Watcher's Blessing is discarded as well. But of course, we need to also resolve that defensive die, which gave me a defensive chip, which now puts me at my maximum of 3 defense. So I'm really ready to take on whatever is coming from this cog beast. And we'll go ahead and move the initiative chip over to this side, and we're going to go ahead and activate the cog beast. Before we continue with the cog beast turn, I want to talk about overdrive. There's some corrections here around this one that will be more clear in the final version. First off, at the end of battle, your overdrive is going to disappear. So I was at the 3 mark at the end of the last battle. So when that battle ended, this should have disappeared, which means we would have been at 0 going into this final battle. And when I got the 1 miss on the attack die, I can go ahead and place that in the 1 slot of the overdrive. It's also important to note that I mentioned that's only on attack dice that the overdrive is actually going up. In essence, it's actually on any die that results in a miss. So it could even be on a Vaki die or a shield die, for instance. So you can really bump that overdrive up quite quickly, but it always starts at the very beginning, which is 0 at the start of a new battle. And now it's time for the cog beast to initiate, and it's going to be using the foe die, which is a much stronger version of the attack die, essentially. So this one here's got 3 hits on one side, 2 hits on this side, 3 and a special on this side, 2 on this one, and on the opposite side 2. I think the lowest, oh, there's a blank. There is 1 miss in here, but you know, chance of that happening pretty slim. So here we go. We're going to roll the die off and see what happens to us. Remember, we do have our thorn greaves here to help us out. All right, we got 2 hits against us. With that completed, we can now go ahead and move this initiative chip over to here. We'll go back in the Dawnshade bag here, and we'll grab another token out. I'm going to be going last in this next oncoming round. Who's going first? Oh, I get to go twice. That's awesome. That's going to make, I got to make sure I make use of this. Okay, so we only have 1 shield left. I might as well keep hammering him the way I'm hammering him. Now, if I go off with a Vaki here to try to do this ability, my Dawn Strike ability says, Blade Rigger die, you get the damage on the Blade Rigger die to the target and mended to you. I don't need mended just yet because it hasn't broken through my shields. So maybe what I should do, seeing as I'm going back to back with 2, is maybe have the first one just be a regular attack, but I'll use 3 attack dice like I did last time. Maybe I will use the Vaki dice. Yeah, let's do it. Let's use the Vaki dice so I can actually get an extra Vaki to maybe pull off my ability to finish him off. So let's go ahead and roll these. See how this goes. Of course, misses could really mess with me here. So I got lots of specials triggering, but again, specials aren't going to help me in this fight. This is a success. We got 1 miss, so my overdrive is going to tick up to a 2. So I've dealt with this die. Next up, the attack dice. So I've got 1, 2 worth of damage, and there's nothing else I can do to really bump that up any further. So 2 hits. So he's got a 2 health remaining. Got to make sure I can actually complete this and take him down. And then we'll deal with the Vaki die. And I'm definitely going to go ahead right now and take a Sun element. All right, so we're going to go up here and grab this and place it over here on our player board. All right, so we're done with that first turn of the round, and now we're going to go ahead and deal with the second turn. So what do I want to do? Well, I do want to use my ability now that I have enough Vaki to pull it off. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 from my mountain and 2 from the sun in order to trigger this ability, which allows me to roll this die right here. So this will be 1 of the agility points that I have to spend. I have 3 more that I can use. So this is where I can go absolutely crazy. And seeing as I have 1 shield on me and have no reason to go any higher on that, I might as well just continue to add more attack dice into the question. So now I can have a guaranteed victory, of course, unless I roll a lot of misses, which could happen. So here we go. Let's see how well we do. There we go. We got 3, 4, 5. That is a solid kill against the Cogbeats. So we did take it out, no problem at all. Now what I want to do is I want to change things up quickly and show you what might have happened if I hadn't got to go twice. In other words, let's give the Cogbeast 2 chances to come at me as if I was still at my same health and defense and it had the opportunity to go twice in a row, and see whether I could have survived that, because I'm actually quite curious. So we definitely won the battle. This is more of an experiment than anything else. So for here, we're going to have the Cogbeast activate again. We're going to say they had 2 chips right here. They happen to get lucky from the bag. There is a miss, so they would have missed on their first one. That would have been nice. Their second activation would have resulted in 2 hits. So we would have been just taken down to this. So again, I'm sure the timing of those die rolls would have changed the outcome, of course, but overall, it looks like we had this thing in the bag. We were set up pretty good there. So that was smart in terms of how we built our character. And it was very much a successful final battle. One thing to note is I forgot to move this round marker. We were in the second round when this occurred. We were very successful in our major threat battles. Let's read on in the logbook to find out what happens for victory. It states, the Ravage lays in a heap of cogs and twisted metal. The Razorback Magus ordered the villagers to assemble what's left of him and put it in the wheeled cage. Some respond, others come to thank you from liberating them from the Might. It's clear the Might are gaining support despite their thuggery. You ponder why some of the creatures willingly allow the Might to rule over them for protection. You have much to ponder before this is all over. The rewards for this particular major threat battle is, because we KO'd this villain, we get 14 XP, 5 tawny, and a +1 item loot chute. So 14 XP is going to take us from 2 up to 6. and then another 10 on top of that. So that's going to be 6 all the way up to 0, which is 10. That spends 4, and then back around to 6 again. So we gain another training point in the pool here, which is pretty nice. So we're going to have lots if we go to a guild hall in the future. We also gain 5 tawny to our coin purse. And now get to attempt a loot shoot for the lesser time distortion, which allows us to re-roll a die. I certainly like that, so let's go ahead and see if we can pull this off. Trying to get close to that center ring. Oh, this time not so much. So we've now completed chapter number 1, or our first game of Dawnshade. There is 3 chapters in the full campaign. So as you can see here, this is what each of the outposts can do for you for your first game. And you saw a majority of these. We didn't end up seeing the Boomshot Gallery. We didn't see the tavern, but we saw the other 3. You'll notice in the second game, more things become available, and same with the third game as you go along. And lastly, it's worth mentioning that each chapter that you move through of the 3 inside the Dawnshade campaign, your character will progress and keep everything that they have gained or progressed through in terms of leveling and their abilities as you go through those 3 chapters. So you won't be resetting your character each chapter. It is all about building momentum as you get to the end of the campaign. And that is going to conclude the Kickstarter playthrough series for Dawnshade here on the channel. I really hope this helps you make an informed decision on the Kickstarter currently running. Thanks again, and as always, keep on rolling solo.